Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Mama Nicole calms Jude when Sloan Aunt Stefan's indicting EJ recording Days of Our Lives reveals that EJ DiMera entered the interrogation room at the Salem PD and set up Stefan DiMera with a chessboard set up. Stefan claimed they were playing for freedom and ultimately pulled out his phone to play a recording of EJ. Since EJ could be heard agitating Stefan's trip arrangements and new identity, Stefan advised that he could put EJ in jail with him. After EJ realized Harris Michaels had a docket to cover Ava Vitali, Stefan acted like they all had dockets then. In exchange for Stefan's evidence against Clyde Weston, he wanted the charges dropped and pledged not to play that recording for Harris. EJ eventually conceded, though he said he could get the charges dismissed outright. The stylish EJ could do was a sentencing deal, so Stefan said he could live with that. Still, there was still the matter of the fortune Stefan inked down to EJ. Stefan wanted to play a winner-take-all game of chess, but EJ didn't see why he should waste his time. After Stefan pushed EJ's buttons and acted like he was spooked, EJ sat down to play and had the advantage for a while. Stefan pulled off some surprising moves and eventually won the game, but EJ acted like it didn't matter since he still had Stefan's hand. Nonetheless, EJ eventually suggested they debandy the details of who got what laterally. After pointing out that the judge would agree to time served once he worked everything out for Stefan, EJ struck a deal with his family. Meanwhile, Harris met with Ava to advise her that there could be a problem with their plan. Since Stefan claimed on meeting one-on-one with EJ, Harris didn't know what was passing behind unrestricted doors. Ava didn't suppose Stefan would beget problems, but she had lower faith in EJ since he was an SOB who abominated her indeed further than Stefan. Although Ava bothered about effects blowing back on Harris, he claimed he'd to take the threat and couldn't lose Ava. No matter what happened, Ava knew Harris had done his stylish to cover her. Harris assured Ava that he wasn't giving up and headed back to the police station. Ava followed on Friday's day's occasion, so she was there to watch Harris put the bind on Stefan and arrest him. At the city house, John Black informed Melina Evans that he was going to apologize to Constantine Meliunis and also catch a flight to Greece so he could turn himself into the authorities. Marlena Evans prayed John not to throw his life down in Salem, but John took off for the Kyriakis manse. Once John was gone, Marlena got Steve Johnson on the phone and asked for his help. Coming on Friday's DOL show, Maggie Kyriakis was surprised by John's visit and indeed more surprised when Marlena and Steve showed up after him. Once Constantine appeared, John said he was profoundly sorry for what he did to Katharina. Maggie got updates on the story of what happened with the pawn and Arya and allowed. Perhaps John didn't do it since he couldn't flash back. Nonetheless, John was adamant that he was shamefaced since he was the only one in the room with Katharina at the time. As a result, John participated the news that he was going to fly to Greece and turn himself in for the crime. When John said he knew Constantine could no way forgive him, Constantine piped up that John was wrong. Everyone in the room was shocked as Constantine claimed that he did forgive John. At home on Friday's day's occasion, Sloan Peterson Brady opened the door to Nicole DiMera and refused the scones Nicole offered since she didn't like them. Nicole mentioned that Eric Brady said Sloan would prefer buttercream for the cutlet at the christening event, but Sloan didn't really watch. When Nicole browsed at Jude Brady during his nap, Sloan advised her to keep her voice down since he was a light slumberer. Since the pressure was inviting, Sloan ultimately admitted she wasn't really on board with Nicole hosting the gathering. Likewise, Sloan didn't forgive Nicole for abducting Jude Brady. That led to Nicole's sincere plea since she wanted Holly Jonas to be part of the fests and felt they all had to get used to being in each other's lives. Nicole assured Sloan that she was sorry for taking Jude that day in a moment of grief. After Nicole gushed over how much she loved her hubby, she claimed she was glad Eric was happy with his own woman. And baby. At one point, Eric appeared wearing a kerchief and looking all wet from his shower. Since EJ didn't know Nicole was there, he apologized and dashed back in the other room to get dressed. Sloan plotted to calm fussy Jude down when he woke up, so Nicole took him in her arms and soothed him with a lullaby. Eric witnessed Nicole handing Jude back over to Sloan in a fairly peaceful moment, so he was pleased. After Nicole left on Friday's day's occasion, Eric raised his appreciation for Sloan and let her know how happy he was to come home to his family. In the city forecourt, EJ told Nicole that everything worked out with Stefan and suggested it was an all's well that ends well situation. Days of Our Lives spoilers say EJ may have to attack further family issues soon. Stefan confesses to Bobby's, Leo chases a story and Chad's weird visit. Days of Our Lives reveals that Jada Hunter admitted she stopped by Harris Michael's place to check on him and got Roman Brady to let her in. Since it didn't look like Harris had been home since he was released from the sanitarium, Jada derived that he'd been staying with Ava Vitali. Jada advised Harris about throwing away his career if he stayed with Ava, but he easily wasn't bothered by her warning or interested in jilting Ava. At The Spectator on Thursday's day's occasion, Leo Stark contemplated agitating Clyde Weston's escape in his gossip column, but Chad DiMera suggested Clyde didn't earn the attention. Still, Chad was hoping Leo could cover some real news while Everett Lynch aka Bobby Stein was out for particular reasons. Leo jumped at the chance to write a story about Mayor Paulina Price's miraculous recovery and release. At Steve Johnson and Kayla Johnson's apartment, Abe Carver thanked them for being similar good hosts and letting him stay there during his memory struggles. Subsequently on Thursday's DOL show, Kayla headed to the sanitarium to discharge Paulina, who was eager to go home with Abe by her side. As Paulina was being wheeled out, a group of journalists gathered to bug her for answers about her phenomenon, including Leo, who was particularly grim. Paulina only offered some brief updates, but Leo decided he wasn't going to give up on getting further than a vague statement. At Paulina's place, Johnny DiMera helped Steve move Abe's stuff in and graze the kitchen before they put up decorations. Talk turned to Clyde's escape at one point, so Johnny suggested there was a special place in hell for whoever helped him. Steve sounded uneasy as he agreed before changing the subject. By the time Paulina and Abe came home with Chanel DiMera, they were pleased over the balloons and flowers. Leo crashed the homecoming party and explained the story he was working on, so Paulina allowed it despite her issues with Leo when he worked as her adjunct. Since Paulina approved off Leo's MLK Day composition and his piece on the Horton house, she agreed to an interview. Leo gushed over how amazing Paulina was and came a real part of the festivity, but Kayla noticed that Steve sounded off. At The Spectator on Thursday's day's occasion, Stefan DiMera showed up with a bottle of booze and wanted to partake a drink with Chad, who expostulated since it was 8:00 a.m. and Stefan sounded drunk formerly. After Stefan suggested about his regrets, he made it clear that those regrets included his history with Abigail DiMera. Stefan apologized since Chad didn't earn that, and neither did Abby. When Stefan assured Chad that he'd nothing to do with Clyde's escape, Chad sounded confused over why he was telling him all this. Chad was also a little weirded out as Stefan admitted he loved his family. Although Chad easily allowed. It was the booze talking, Stefan said it was time to face the music. Chad remained thwarted, but also Stefan got a mischievous eye blink in his eye and suggested he'd to plan his chess moves. Once Chad was alone, he looked at Abigail's print and plotted over having Clyde in his head again. Chad fumed over how Clyde should rot in hell for the effects he'd done. Back at the police station on Day's occasion, Stefan approached Jada and Harris to confess to medicine trafficking and plutocrat laundering under Clyde's pressure. Jada assumed Ava was just as involved, but Steen said he acted alone and that he ordered Ava to keep quiet or face dire consequences when she discovered what was going on. Now that Stefan was confessing, he suggested Harris and Jada should get EJ DiMera on the phone since he was ready to cut a deal. Days of Our Lives spoilers say Stefan still has a many tricks up his sleeve.